Hey everyone, welcome to Rebel Roundup. Sorry, we're about 10 minutes delayed, had some technical difficulties. As you know, sometimes we are painfully live, and today, Thursday, November the 20th, is no exception. I'm your host, Mary Ugolini, and I'm joined by our British Columbia correspondent, my friend and colleague, Drea Humphrey. How are you doing over there this morning, Drea?
I'm doing good, Tamara. So good,
Good.
actually. Ready for the show?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've hosted together, but it's always a
Yeah.
good time. So today we're going to talk about some of the craziness unfolding in the House of Commons with refugee claimants, no oil tankers in British Columbia, and Carney's Brookfield conflict, the never-ending story, it seems, these days. But if you're joining us just now, you can start by giving us a Rumble rant if you're joining us over on Rumble, or a super chat on YouTube. That was where we were having some issues with the YouTube stream. So I hope that all of our YouTube watchers are able to find us easily and seamlessly. And so through a $5 donation or more, if you feel so inclined, we will read your comment, tip, or trick live on air and provide some feedback or commentary, or perhaps it's something that you know that we're not privy to yet. So please try to utilize that. It's a great way to keep our journalism afloat and have your input read on a larger platform. So because we're already running so behind, and again, I apologize for some technical difficulties, let's get right into this clip here. I was shocked, and I do a lot of obviously research on the immigration stats and what's happening with, because there's the immigration umbrella, and so many people don't realize that in there we have permanent residents, temporary foreign workers, temporary residents, those who are seeking refugee status or refugee claimants. And so under the immigration umbrella are all these subcategories. And the refugee claimants get what's called, they have essentially free health benefits. And the government went back and forth for a while on whether or not they should call it free, because they didn't want to be seen as promoting it. But in fact, it's a program that's paid by taxpayers and is free to anyone who's claiming refugee status in the country. And so this has been a hot topic in the House of Commons, is like, how much are we actually funding into this program when we know that refugee claimants have skyrocketed in recent years? And many of them, sadly, are fraudulent because Canada doesn't really have any safeguards in place to prevent that from happening. And so this has been put on full display yesterday. The president of the Canadian Border Service Agency Union reveals just how little oversight there is on this program. Listen to this.
Was done there. That's changed to a system that's called One Touch. So essentially, we get tombstone data, we do some biometrics, and the claimant is then allowed into the country to complete their security screening and such on their own through the One Touch system. They have, I believe it's 45 days to submit that, meaning, in essence, to speed things up, because we are short-staffed, we're allowing people into the country without first doing that security screening.
Wow.
Okay, hold on a second here. So,
Yeah.
so you're saying that a refugee claimant coming to Canada goes to a machine and says, I want to be a refugee in Canada, hits a button, and they're in the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a machine, it's an application. So the One Touch system, they're given instructions on how to use that. That connects directly with IRCC, and they're given that documentation to complete on their own once they're in the country. We're not doing that.
So basically, they take out their phone, theoretically, and they tap it a few times, and they are now in the country as a refugee accepted by our country.
Yes, we get some basic data from them, and again, we do the biometrics. But beyond that, they're doing that on their own, yes.
So no
This is where it
human
gets
interaction.
crazy.
Your members do not ask any questions, don't confirm anything. It's a free-for-all into the country that way?
Very little. I don't know if I'd use the term free-for-all, but for the most part, it's self-declaration on the claimant's part, yes.
Newsflash.
And so from your perspective and your members' perspective, this is not a good thing?
This is a terrible thing. It's during the interview, and again, I spoke to it in my opening statement about human interaction. That's where we ask follow-up questions. That's where we establish whether there's coaching, whether it's a legitimate claim. That's how those files are built so they can be dealt with properly. Later, that's where we gain that intelligence, and that's currently been lost, not to mention that about 10% never complete the forms through One Touch. So you figure with about 100,000 claimants a year, that's about 10,000 people who are allowed into Canada who they disappear. Then it's our inland officers then have to find them and remove them, so you're adding additional burdens down the road.
So 10,000 potential false claimants coming into that system that have to be removed. Wow.
Every year.
That's not even just the false ones. That's just the ones that don't do it.
That don't do anything. Yeah, they just come in and they're like, okay, I'm a refugee now, give me all the free things.
Oh my gosh.
And so on that same vein, this wasn't in the schedule, but I had watched it last night and I thought this is shocking. So newly elected MP Matt Strauss, he was asking similar questions of the immigration minister, Lena Diab, who's I think like the 7th minister in 7 years to handle such a crucial high profile portfolio. Like the turnover of immigration ministers and health ministers is astronomical when these are such massive portfolios. But this is a almost 3-minute clip, so it is lengthy, but I think it's really important because she says some absolutely shocking things about that interim health benefit that's offered to refugee claimants. And again, all of this just revalidates, and we were talking about it on Tuesday on the stream, how the CBSA, the Canadian Border Services Agency, loses or has lost roughly 500,000 people who are due for deportation, and they just don't know where they ended up. They're just gone. 500,000 people who should have left this country are just lost, missing in action. So I just wanted to share this clip too on this same vein, just how absolute, like just complete ineptitude by immigration ministers and their staff.
Mr. Diab, I had to check. I mean, we all know you as the Minister of Immigration, but you are the Minister of Refugees as well. And so I guess I was dumbfounded when you said that you don't know what % of refugee claims are ultimately accepted in the last round.
I do not. I can go on the website and check, and I'm sure
maybe you should.
So can we.
We can definitely follow up with you.
Okay, I mean, that was 20 minutes ago. When somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to receive benefits from IFHP?
No, when it's denied, it follows through the process. Once the process is concluded, it ends.
The one click.
Minister, I have another question about the IFHP, and it's really important for the Canadians following along at home to understand. So this program, the $900 million program, includes pharmaceuticals and vision care and mental health counseling and assistive devices and physiotherapy and occupational speech therapy and all sorts of things that seniors in Kitchener do not get unless they have supplemental health coverage. I asked you, if somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to get all of this coverage? And you said no. Here I have your website. It says, as a refugee claimant, you'll get IFHP coverage if your claim for refugee protection has been rejected by the IRB. So did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Wow.
Excuse me?
I said, did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Be careful with language, Mr. Strauss.
Oh yeah,
Did
they're
you
totally
mislead the
policing,
committee, or
of
is
course.
the website misleading?
Not in the job of doing that. Thank you very much. It's not something that is in my dictionary either.
What is your job then?
What I said is the interim federal health program provides temporary health care coverage to address urgent and essential medical needs for refugees and asylum claimants while they wait to become eligible for provincial and territorial health insurance plans. And
then I asked, if your refugee claim is denied, do you continue to receive coverage? And here your website says you continue to receive coverage if your claim is denied, if your refugee claim is denied by IRB.
I said they continue to receive claims until all the refugee process is concluded.
So what part of the process comes after the claim being denied by IRB?
Well, again, it's the IRB that takes care of that. There is a process, and there is a legal process.
So I'm to understand that you, as the minister who looks after this interim federal health program, who is the Minister of Refugees, doesn't know what part of the process comes after the IRB denying your refugee claim?
Yeah.
Well, again, if I put the chapeau on my hat when I was a lawyer, people can appeal, or there could be other considerations. So again, this is not you know.
Thank you. I'd like to yield my time over to to Dan Mazur.
There, like that just highlights it full on showcases
Lord
the
help.
absolute hellscape that is the Canadian government. That is it right there on full display.
This is the same minister who, when asked about, you know, how healthcare is going, when we're so strapped for healthcare, how are we going to help all these people bringing in? And she said this isn't a question for her ministry. And if you notice, she had to keep reading just to explain what her ministry does. She had to keep going down. She doesn't even know what her ministry is supposed to do. It is so concerning. And I just want to go back to that first video too, because it is so shocking in one click that they can get here. I had no clue that was happening. I know most of us had no clue. How does it get to that point? That should not even be possible for us to do. That should be like illegal for us to do. There should be some very minimum basic checks and balances that are required before you come into this country. So who the heck has come into this country?
Yeah, it's literally, they say, oh, we won't use the word free for all, but actually, if you just look at those two clips, the current state of affairs, it is a free for all. And you can have your refugee claim denied and still get all these free, right? They're free because these people don't come into the country as tax-paying citizens. They've never paid taxes here before. And not to downplay the very serious aspect of being a refugee claimant. There are legitimate refugees with legitimate claims, but that is being disavowed and disavowed by all of these fraudulent ones, that this influx, because they've realized, hey, Canada has this willy-nilly free-for-all system, and we are going to exploit it for our own benefit. I mean, that's what people for millennia have done and are doing now. And the Liberals are just letting it go by under their noses. If you have your refugee claim denied, that's like an immediate, okay, we need to immediately start monitoring you. If you're going to appeal or whatever, there should be a process in place for that puts some serious stipulations on your application, including that you are no longer eligible to receive the full suite of benefits that a refugee claim or claimant who is going through the process of being approved would have. So this is just absolutely crazy. And as Matt Strauss, Dr. Strauss, he is a physician, points out, his constituents don't have access to those kinds of benefits unless they have some sort of like special or extra coverage.
Yeah, he mentioned
that is insane.
Our seniors, our veterans. If your child has ADD and needs some of those things, you don't get those things. You have to have special coverage, more money. And not to mention, we have increased hundreds of thousands of jobs in the federal public servant sector. So why are they not going to these very important areas to smooth out whatever is going on in this system? Like they're probably going to DEI and God knows what, you know.
Yeah, the Federal Service Pride Week.
Like putting tampons in the military bathrooms or something, checking those.
Well, it seems to be they're all, well, we collect the biometric data, and it's like, okay, well, that's great, except how are you using that data to make sure that you're pinpointing where these people end up and how to get them out of this country when and if their claims are denied? So what, you're collecting biometric data because you're losing the people who are due for deportation at the end of the day. So what difference does it really make?
So what is the solution then? I mean, obviously the solution is stop what you're doing right now. However, how do you fix the rest of it? I remember when Poilievre was running in the election, he said that they would make it so the most recent people to come are going to be checked first, like their applications and everything like that, so that they don't know that, hey, if I come here with one click, I can just disappear across the country, start a life for myself, and by the time they get to my file, it's been like a year and I'm just gone. I guess that's one thing that could help, but boy, is this a mess.
Oh, it's a mess, and it needs to just be halted. Like, we need to stop everything so that we can figure out how to
Yes.
backpedal on a lot of this, that because this only really started, this mass influx of unmitigated, unfettered immigration really only started in 2021. The pandemic paused a lot of immigration because it was all like, oh, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and that turned into 2 years. So borders were, they weren't closed necessarily, but a lot of things were heavily scaled back under the pretense of stopping the spread of COVID-19. And so as soon as that was no longer like a front and center pandemic, and the WHO removed their declaration of a global health emergency, then the floodgates literally opened, and it's been ever since. So we're looking at 4 going on 5 years of this massive influx. And there is no checks and balances being adequately or appropriately upheld to make sure that we're getting, the creme de la creme, per se, of immigration.
Like before.
Canada had a world-class immigration system. We were highly regarded in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the Liberals, like most other things they've put their paws on, have absolutely destroyed it.
And why do we get so little Christian refugees? The number one persecuted religion in the world is Christians. Look what's happening in Nigeria. But if you look religion-wise at what we bring in, it's barely any Christians, which is another.
Well, and just yesterday,
Christianity is very compatible with the West.
Yeah, highly incompatible cultures are flooding into Canada. And just yesterday, or perhaps it was the day before, the data shows that it's the highly skilled immigrants are the ones who are leaving the most and the soonest. They're not even staying 5 years. The doctors, the engineers, all the people we're told are the ones who are coming into the country. They're the ones who are simultaneously coming here, realizing there's no opportunity and Canada's expensive as heck. And then they're leaving. Mm-hmm. We're left with not the finest immigrants who end up staying. And that is unfortunate because the highly skilled immigrants are leaving the fastest.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory. These are the facts. And we aren't vetting people properly. And they're being told you can come to Canada for a better life. There's so much opportunity. And then you come here and you realize that's not actually happening. And then they're leaving. They're like, to heck with this, I'm out.
There's no bigger sign that the Canadian dream has died
crumbled
than immigrants saying, we got to get the heck out of this country and start a new life, either back home or somewhere new.
And speaking on the Canadian dream, we have our recently elected Prime Minister, Mark Carney, being called out also in the House of Commons, right? The House of Commons used to be so boring and mundane. And now I'm like, where can I watch the best political theater happening? And it's right now in Canadian Parliament. Andrew Lawton.
I don't know. The BC legislature is pretty spicy, but yes.
They're all becoming increasingly unhinged.
Yeah.
But for good reason. The Canadians are struggling, and there's so many in the political class who just opt to ignore it and dwell up in their ivory towers and pretend like everything's rainbows and butterflies. Well, people are choosing literally between heating and eating. And so politicians are getting rightfully more and more upset on behalf of their constituents.
And we've elected, like Dr. Matt Strauss, we have elected some very strong freedom defenders. Yes. And I think that's what's added a lot of spice, is who we elected over the last elections.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, I want to show this clip from, it's Andrew Lawton calling out Carney in the House of Commons for being a multi-passport holder.
Mr. Speaker, I wish our high-flying Prime Minister coveted results as much as air miles. Since taking office, he's made 28 trips, flying 153,000 kilometers, which is enough to circle the globe 4 times. And he's off again this week, heading to the United Arab Emirates and then South Africa. No surprise from the Prime Minister, who collects passports sports like Pokemon and identifies as European when he's hanging out in Davos with his fellow global elites. But what do Canadians have to show for this? No trade deals, no tariff relief, just photo ops and hollow letters of intent. He blew past his own deadlines with the United States with no deal. His 8-day junket to Asia, no progress. Chinese tariffs stay, India adds new ones, and not a single tariff lifted on Canadian goods in 8 months. As for accountability, he has appeared in question period just 11 times this fall. If the Prime Minister is this bored of Canada, can he please make his next junket a one-way ticket?
That is spitfire right there. That is just one thing after the next, and so justified and warranted, beyond justified and warranted at this point.
Absolutely. And again, Andrew Lawton, another freedom defender. This is what happens. This is what we need more of. And, you know, I'm starting to see, at least in BC, there is a big breakthrough of the echo chambers, which is something that obviously us at Rebel News have been trying to do. And we do so, you know, as tyranny increases, it just so happens that Rebel News is pretty much usually the first to cover the other side of the story when that happens. So, but it seems to be a bigger amount of people. Are you noticing that too, Tamara?
I'm noticing more and more people just becoming frustrated and done. Like they're like, we're done. We're tired of being scared of being labeled a conspiracy theorist or a racist or what have you if we speak out against these things, because silence is compliance. And people are increasingly becoming so frustrated that they're done just blindly following and complying. And I think that is really a result, and I've said it before so many times, of people feeling it in their pocketbooks. Like money talks. And when you don't have anything left and you're scrounging just to get by, working more than you ever have before, that's when you will see that frustration start to bubble over. And I think we're like there, and we've been there for the better part of a year, maybe even 2. And so that isn't getting any better. And that's the thing. Everyone, the Liberals were hoodwinked, right? And so many people were like, oh, well, Carney's this banking bro, and he has all this economic expertise, and he's an expert. And where has that gotten us in the 8 months since he was elected on his elbows up against Trump campaign, right? We've had tail tucked, elbows down, doing the chicken dance and not getting anywhere since that time.
It's funny, just real quick, I know we're going off topic, but I'm sure everybody loves it that's watching. Join in if you want through Super Chat or Rumble Rants. But I saw this guy, and he was just talking. He was from the UK, and he was an Indian guy, East Indian guy. And he's like, what the heck is going on in Canada? Why do they hate us so much there? They're like the nicest people. He's like, I don't know what you brown guys are doing out there, but you must have done something really bad to make Canada upset. And then the comments were so funny. And you're right. It was just people who've just had enough, not being able to get jobs, their kids not getting jobs and things like that. And then someone in the comments said something along the lines of, yeah, we're nice until, you know, we can't afford anything. Then it's time to hold our beer. So
right.
Like, yeah, it's the Canadian way, I guess.
Exactly. Well, and as you see more and more like the conflicts of interest that are coming out, and you see Carney, you know, is worth however many millions or $1 billion, and you're thinking, why is he now our prime minister and we're paying his salary? I'm not even sure what the current salary is for the prime minister's, upwards of $300,000-$400,000 a year, plus all these perks and travel and food and wining and dining, and people can't afford to eat, and they're like, who is this guy? And why are we paying him for essentially nothing, right? Like, what has he achieved in the last 9 months other than jet setting and flying high, as Andrew Lawton put it?
And being best buds with Trump. Is that really what they elected him? He's just like,
he was supposed to be tough against him.
His meetings with Trump, he just suckholes the whole time while Trump like makes fun of them, basically.
And he just looks up at him like, okay, Dad, yes, my big brother, proverbial. But so anyway, we have also this clip from Michael Cooper, Conservative MP in Parliament, calling out Carney's top advisor, who's supposed to be in charge of his ethics screen, right? Because that screen put in place between his Brookfield investment portfolio was supposed to like stop all of his conflicts of interest, as though he didn't know his holdings heading into becoming prime minister. And now you see all these deals being signed that directly benefit companies like Brookfield and their subsidiaries. And so Michael Cooper's called him out and found out that the top advisor doesn't even know the holdings in Carney's Brookfield fund, which I find to be not accurate.
I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sabia. The Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1 is subject of the Prime Minister's ethics screen. Mr. Carney's disclosure states that he is entitled to carried interest payments from the Brookfield Global Transition Fund, essentially future bonus pay based upon the performance of the fund. What Mr. Carney's disclosure does not provide for are the holdings within that fund. Are you aware of what those holdings are as the administrator of the ethics screen?
No, I am not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sabia.
At least we got a succinct answer. It wasn't like well, let me be very clear that the screen is in place for, and so on and so forth. But this guy is in charge of the screen and enforcing it. And as Michael Cooper wrote in his post on X, this so-called screen can't be enforced when its administrator is blind to Carney's conflicts. What's the point of this guy then?
Exactly. And it's probably one of those things where it's like, I don't want to know. I'm not going to open that. Not going to look at that. That way I can factually and legally say, I don't know when I'm asked. This was his moment to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah, no one's looking into Carney, but us or like people like us, you know what I mean? The Liberals are not going to do that.
Well, remember when I think one of the only times he was asked about his conflicts of interest heading into the election, because technically in Canada, and this is something that I think needs to be reformed and changed, you don't have to declare your conflicts of interest while you're campaigning. It's only after you become a prime minister or some other elected role, that's when you have to declare your conflicts of interest. So you can be whatever, willy-nilly, have all of these, your hands in all these different cookie jars. And you don't have to declare that until you're an elected official. And because Carney wasn't elected before he ran to become a prime minister, which is a skirting in and of itself of the rules, he was able to skirt that requirement, that prerequisite to becoming prime minister. So it's very sneaky every which way you looked at how Carney came to be in this position. But you'll remember, Drea, that Rosemary Barton, CBC's, I think their head, the head political correspondent, asked him about his conflicts of interest. And he told her to look inside herself. Like, this is the kind of stuff you get in response when the media and Rosemary. It's so strange.
Like,
and then here
inside yourself, which is so creepy.
It's so creepy. And then it's kind of a message too to people like Rosemary Barton, who receive a massive, here, let's just play this clip here.
Are you saying you are not open to any conflict of interest? Yes. Spend most of his life in the private sector. There's no possible conflict of interest in your assets. It's very difficult to believe.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary. I mean, you start from a prior of conflict and ill will. I have served in the private sector. I have stood up for Canada. I have left my roles in the private sector.
The manipulation
at a time
and the gaslighting is insane.
Imagine that's your husband. Like, look inside yourself. I. Like, it's just, that said a lot, that little interaction. And you're right, it was a warning. Don't be like Rosie. Well, don't be like Rosie in general, but, don't be like Rosie. You want your funding? He pledged also while running to give them more funding.
Exactly, which
so
is
look inside your bank account, Rosie.
Yeah, which was a chilling message to Rosie to say, hey, you're on the line here. We hold your funds. Be careful. Tread lightly.
And
Don't
that
bite the hand
pause
that
he
feeds.
did, like the pause and the, like, really? Like, you're going to ask me that? Ugh.
Yeah.
Before he
Don't bite
said-
the hand that feeds, Rosemary.
Yeah.
That's your message there. And so just to tighten up or to wrap up the clips of what's happening in the political sphere in Canada, we have our Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, who was asked about Alberta's repeated use of the Notwithstanding clause. And of course, he's not a fan because it's not his government invoking, like the Emergencies Act to quell peaceful protest and seize the bank accounts of countless Canadians.
I'm concerned about the frequency with which we're seeing the Notwithstanding clause being reached to as a tool to deal with very complex social issues. One of the pieces that is lost in this conversation in public is the fact that the Constitution provides already for the ability to adopt policies that may run counter to our constitutionally guaranteed rights, so long as the policies being put in place can be justified, reasonably justified, in a free and democratic society. And that's in Section 1 of the document. And when you are reaching for the Notwithstanding clause, what you're essentially doing is saying, we're going to adopt a law without regard as to whether that law is reasonable in a free and democratic society. I'm concerned about...
Look inside yourself, Sean Fraser, because I'm pretty sure your government is the largest offender of civil liberty infringements in recent history. All right, let's go to a quick ad break from the Wellness Company, and then we'll do a couple more ads, and then we'll get back with some British Columbia specific things happening that you can maybe lead into, Drea. But first and foremost, I'll get to the Wellness Company, and specifically, if I can find the ad, their Ultimate Spike Detox based on Korean research. What if those who were once called conspiracy theorists turned out to be right again? A new study by Korean doctors claimed that COVID vaccines raise the risk of 6 cancers, including lung, breast, and prostate. Researchers analyzed health records from more than 8.4 million adults between 2021 and 2023, and their findings were published in Biomarker Research, a respected scientific journal. Critics dismiss it, but the data raises concern that spike protein exposure may be tied to long-term health risks. Dr. Peter McCullough has been aware of this since 2020, which is why he collaborated with the Wellness Company to create Ultimate Spike Detox, designed to help your body clear spike proteins, reduce inflammation, and support heart health. With natural ingredients like nattokinase, dandelion root, and bromelain, it is your daily proactive defense from a man-made virus. Don't wait until symptoms strike or something unexpected happens. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. McCullough, one of the top doctors who risked it all. Head over to twc.health/rebel and use code REBEL to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/rebel and use code REBEL to get 10% off. Now, get back to that pre-COVID feeling.
You like the hat? Me too. Same strong message about making Canada great again, but in a really cool color, black and gold. There's other colors available, and it's an all-Canadian site. So if you want to signal your tribe or trigger a Liberal, go to mcgahats.ca today.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Gun bans make great distraction.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of...
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us. Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
All right, heading into British Columbia politics, we have the still of this clip terrified me.
You know
Sorry,
what?
I couldn't do it. Have to regain my composure here. You have Green leader and sole Green seat holder, Elizabeth May. There she is in her full-fledged glory.
Yeah.
She is like single-handedly responsible for the budget passing, by the way, which is so disturbing and maddening.
She's got a very powerful role in her position.
Somehow.
Well, we have independent, you know, that for the most part, you know, vote with the Conservatives and stuff. So she's pretty powerful because the opposition, if you add the independents within that, are so close to the NDP. And so she's loving it. And I must admit, as annoying as everything she stands for is, I secretly love her. I don't even secretly love her. I say this every time. Every time. I just, even if she's talking crap, she just amuses me. I'd love to go out to the pub with you, Elizabeth May. I would really love it. She probably doesn't want to hang out with me, but anyways.
Sure, that's fine, but just don't put her in charge of anything.
Exactly.
Which
except for ordering
she
drinks.
is. Yeah, and I'm sure is very good at that. Actually, I watched a clip of her. Gosh, was it 2016 maybe, where she was drunk at her event, basically like applauding Omar Khadr, and her staffers pulling her off of the stage.
Drunk.
And this is the woman pretty much single-handedly responsible for passing the 2025 budget, which is absolutely insane. But all of that aside, here we have her rejecting the possibility of tanker traffic on British Columbia's north coast.
There is no chance in God's green earth that there's ever going to be an oil tanker up the BC north coast. In case you've never heard of it, the inner waters between Haida Gwaii and the coast of Canada, the west coast of Canada, is something called the Hecate Strait. You should look it up. It's the most dangerous body of water on the Canadian coastline, according to the Government of Canada, and the fourth most dangerous body of water on Earth. It has tides and currents that are extraordinary, 10 to 30 meters. They sometimes go down so low that they expose the ocean floor. That's why there's been a tanker moratorium on our north coast since 1972. And you can't wish away the science. And you can't pretend an oil tanker isn't going to break apart and contaminate the coasts, sloshing back and forth oil between the north coast of the mainland of British Columbia and the east coast of Haida Gwaii. The Haida Nation will never stand for it. British Columbians will never stand for it. They're not just barking up the wrong tree, they're barking up the wrong forest. And yet they...
Yeah, Elizabeth May. I don't know that she knows what she's talking about, which should come to no surprise as anyone who follows Canadian politics, and especially her. But I love one of the comments from this post. Citizens of EU, European Union, writes, "That's funny. I thought that Alaska sent lots of tankers past BC's north coast to refineries in Washington, Oregon, and California."
Yeah, multiple, but like several tankers. Not to mention, she's like, it's the most dangerous waters. At times it is. That's why BC Ferries travels through it a lot with goods and people. And what do? Like, they just make sure they don't do it when there's some sort of crazy storm going on. So yeah, but she is right about one thing when she mentions that Haida Gwaii probably won't stand for it, because as you recall, our premier, David Eby, you know, without waiting for the courts or anything, just gave them basically the title over there. So they have a ton of say. And like most things in British Columbia, we have conformed to the UN's United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, all of our stuff. So we have to do Aboriginal consultation on everything. So I think out of all the nonsense she said, she's onto something there as far as who really has a lot of say and their likelihood of saying yes to this.
And I loved the Delta Rogers put a screen grab of the British Columbia ship traffic tracker. You can actually track the ships. And they wrote, there are literally 20 to 30 tankers just within the waters around her riding on Vancouver Island. So like, how does Elizabeth May not know this stuff? I mean, what is she even going on about? This is just insane. And when I said that it was a staffer that pulled her off of stage, I don't know if we can cue up that clip because it's just so good. It was actually a Harper minister at the time. So my mistake for saying that it was one of her own staffers. It was actually someone from another party who was just so embarrassed for Elizabeth May that she was trying to usher her off of stage. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that clip. But if you don't, maybe we can cue it up because it is
one of our
so
most
cringe.
embarrassing Canadian moments. And that's a lot. Like when you look at the things Trudeau has done, I mean, it's a lot to come close to that. And that's great.
Oh, here it is. Look at her. You can just tell. Oh, it's about to get unhinged.
Here she is getting ushered off the screen.
Wait, you know what? Do you guys remember the theme song? Welcome back. Who knew Cotter was spelled K-H-A-D-R?
Oh my
God.
Welcome
back, Omar Cotter. It matters to say it. Welcome back, Omar Cotter.
No,
You're
it doesn't.
I heard a couple of claps.
Doesn't it strike you as unusual?
Like, how are you still holding your seat after this?
Yeah. There are no words. There you have it. That is Elizabeth May.
There you go.
And now she's here advising on tanker bans that aren't actually banned.
But she's right. I saw that Premier Smith seemed to be hopeful or, thinking that it might happen. I'm not so optimistic. I think it will be shut down for bogus reasons, whatever they may be, just like May is saying, it will continue to be blocked.
Especially as land title remains in dispute and given to the Indigenous groups. Alex Greer gives us $6.99. Thank you so much, Alex. And then Drea, I know our viewers are just so eager to know about what else is happening in British Columbia politics and perhaps anything that ties in with the ostriches. If you want to take away this one BC clip here that we have on DEI.
You know what? Why not? We talked about how spicy things are getting in these houses. The BC session is back underway and it has not disappointed. This is House Leader of the One BC Party. For those who don't know, that's our newer and fourth party formed by two former BC Conservative MLAs who claim the BC Conservative Party isn't conservative. So let's hear Tara Armstrong and what she had to say in the House.
Men, get to the back of the line. Whites, Asians, and Jews need not apply. That's exactly what diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, is. It's the idea that jobs should be awarded on the basis of race or sex, not merit or qualifications. That discrimination against certain groups is a good thing. And it has completely consumed our universities. Our bill will rip it from its roots. Here in BC, Simon Fraser University openly posted for 15 Black-only faculty positions. The Aristotle Foundation found that 98% of 500 academic job postings across Canada contained DEI-based discrimination. At UBC, 2/3 of job postings required candidates to show their commitment to left-wing politics in the name of DEI. Jobs should go to the most qualified candidate, regardless of sex or race. You want your plane flown by the best pilot and your scalpel wielded by the best surgeon. You care about their skills, not their skin color. Our bill bans race-based hiring, identity quotas, and ideological litmus tests at our tax-funded universities. Any public institution that refuses to comply loses its funding. Every Canadian should be judged by their merits, not their sex or their skin color. DEI must DIE, and this bill will kill it. Thank you.
So well said.
Absolutely. Now, of course, our socialist NDP government wanted nothing of that, but I can think of nothing more racist than what we've done in society, which under this radical so-called righteousness defenders of people of color that they called racialized, like something horrible happened to us when we were born, then convincing in particular young people, young adults in university that based on the color of one's skin, they are oppressed, limited, less than, and need special handouts and help. There is nothing more racist than that to me, to A, convince people of color that that's true, and also convince people not of color that's true. So I'm totally on board with her. I know, Martin Luther King would be rolling over in his grave, seeing how close we were to, of course, you're never going to eliminate racism, but perhaps it was almost dead on life support, and we have brought it back and made it systemic. It is systemic racism now.
It is deeply ingrained into all elements of the government at this point. And yeah, there's no avoiding it. The government makes you, from these very young children in school, makes you recognize and look for people's skin color.
Yeah.
And their differences. Instead of saying our differences, I remember a quote when I was a kid in school. Our differences make us interesting and unique. And that was it. It was like, that's it. You didn't need to delve any deeper. You didn't need to say someone was oppressed and more or less privileged than the other. Just, we're all different, and that's what makes us interesting and unique.
Well, and what's the motivator to make these young people try? Like, I was raised, you work hard, you reap what you sow, help out those who really, truly can't help themselves, and dust yourself off and try again. Why would you do that if you actually adopt the belief that, the socialist NDPs running our province have to say? Can you actually just put that up? Don't play it again. I want to point out something very interesting. So if you could just show Tara, behind her are two independents who, it's funny, I mentioned how Tara and Dallas Brody, the leader of 1BC, one way or another got out of the Conservative Party. Behind you, or behind Tara there, is two independents who have also left the BC Conservatives one way or another. And I would say they were very left. So you have a lot of fascinating stuff happening in BC. But what really stands out to me is both Eleanor Sturko and Amelia Boatby, who are the two recently independents who have been out of the BC Conservatives. They kept their poker face on. Normally, what Tara Armstrong is saying here I would guess would have been followed with eye rolls and sighs and things like that from those two. But they're playing their cards really carefully now that they're independents and out there alone. They didn't even make a funny face at all. I'm very impressed and fascinated with what is exactly going on in this legislature now.
Well, and I think that it's the land grab stuff really putting people on edge, that this has serious and far-reaching implications for land ownership in the province of British Columbia, and then also for the rest of Canada. And so I think a lot of these politicians and party affiliates are going, wait a minute, how did this happen? And what does this really mean? Because we know that that so many politicians are in it for themselves. They get a lot of their generational wealth through things like home ownership and property ownership. And so I would say this has a lot of repercussions for the political class, who are often landlords and real estate holders.
It's sweeping. You could be a real estate agent, you could be a financial advisor. It's affecting so many jobs. The uncertainty alone. The banks, everybody's constituents, all of their constituents are pissed about this, which is why it's interesting. We should, do we have time to show that other clip or no? We're at 11. Can we show it real quick? you have the BC NDP, David Eby and Nikki Sharma, the Attorney General, claiming, they're going to be going to bat for these landowners in Richmond in this appeal. Yet they keep at every chance they get turning down bills that would serve to protect the landowners in the future. In particular, bills that propose to take down DRIPA, which is again our adoption of UNDRIP, that UN's idea of what Indigenous rights should be when they're not even in Canada. And by the way, there is a human rights thing that we could have adopted for all of us, but they only adopted this one. But let's listen to what another independent who's left the BC Conservatives, Jordan Keeley for Prince River North, I think I said that right, Peace River North, had to say.
Bill entitled Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Statute Repeal Act, of which notice is being given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read for the first time now. Mr. Speaker and fellow colleagues, I speak to this bill from the heart and with sincerity. Reconciliation matters, respect matters, partnership matters. But DRIPA, as implemented, is dividing people at a time when we need unity. It is pulling this province apart when we should be building something stronger together. My brother has 4 children, 2 stepchildren are First Nations and 2 biological children. All 4 he loves equally. As his children grow up, 2 will receive benefits the other 2 will never qualify for. Education supports, job opportunities, extended health coverage, housing programs, and hunting and fishing rights. These children live in the same house, raised by the same parents, but the government will treat them vastly different. How is he supposed to explain to his children why they're treated so very differently?
Right.
The answer is, he shouldn't. He loves them. And they are equal and should be treated as such. Across this province, people feel the ground shifting beneath them. Families, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, are trying to plan their lives in a system clouded with uncertainty. Land decisions are inconsistent, processes are tangled, ministries are operating under conflicting expectations, meetings are happening behind closed doors, transparency is missing, and trust is eroding. This conclusion is causing real harm. It is straining relationships, slowing essential projects, and undermining confidence in government. People are afraid to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, or simply not understanding the system that has become too unclear to navigate.
Yeah, we can stop there.
This bill.
So basically, he calls to stop sort of the root of all of these things that are making our province so insane right now, DRIPA, and have that repealed. And the BC NDP and the Greens shot that down. If you haven't already signed our petition calling for the same thing, demanding that those in power do repeal DRIPA, please go to endlandgrabs.com and sign that as well. But yeah, that's BC for you right now.
Yep. And sweeping impacts for the rest of Canada, depending on how things go. All right. I know we started a little bit late, but we'll just get maybe to our daily dose of cringe. It was a toss up for me between, well, maybe we'll just do both cringy things. The first one I thought was this Toronto Sun article. So cringy, where they say parents should get their baby's consent to change their diapers.
Oh, right. I saw that.
Said researchers. And according to the experts, right, these quote unquote TV doctors and TV experts, it ensures that consent becomes a normal, everyday part of life. And it comes from early childhood researchers in Australia, which is just an absolutely insane thing to say. But then I quoted it. Oh, where did it go? I can't find it. But I said, basically, well, what about getting their consent before you inject them with neurotoxins?
Yeah. How will we wait a few years till they can think that one over? Where
do you draw the line on this stuff? Changing their diapers? So if a baby's soiled in their own excrement, you're just supposed to let them sit in it until they're like, okay, mom, yep, now it's time. And when they're 6 weeks old, like, this is craziness.
There is no sane mother or father on the planet who thinks this is okay. And what comes to my mind immediately, like my past working in mental health, a lot of people who were physically and sexually abused as children, immediately it comes to mind the same concerns I had when I started to see this consent word being used at young grade school kids in public school. That's another thing, just so you know, they're teaching your kids about consent. And it sounds good to a parent. It's like, oh yeah, of course I want my kid to know about consent. But the bottom line is kids can't consent to certain things.
Yeah.
So now you're going to raise a kid from out of the womb to think that they actually have the capacity to consent to certain things that might feel good. It is a huge red flag when you see this being normalized with little kids. Parents have to consent on behalf of the kids. Okay.
The end of this article, or sorry, I don't think it's the end. No,
Unless they're mutilating it.
The end of this article also says parents should look for ways to give kids a choice in everyday situations, from choosing what they want to wear, what fruit they want to eat, or whether they want to go to the park or not, as those little decisions help nurture their independence and can reduce power struggle. So it's a win-win. You know what? When my 4-year-old doesn't want to wear pants, I'm like, no, we're wearing pants today. And guess what? It's winter. So we're also going to wear snow pants. And if you don't, well, we're not leaving the house until you do. So that's it. If he wants to choose which pants he wears, as long as they fit and they're appropriate for the weather, absolutely, sure, go ahead. But I'm not going to stand there and be like, oh, you don't want to wear pants today? Okay, well, that's your choice. And I give you full autonomy and consent to go about your day in underwear. Like, no, this is ridiculous.
This is so concerning. Train your kid in the way they should go, and kids learn by modeling. That's how they learn. That's what I mean, why are we even having this conversation? I don't want to go all biblical. I always want to go all biblical. I rarely do. I'm going to go for a second. It talks about towards the end times that you're going to see basically women filling the gap that the men won't fill. Sort of the end times when a society is about to fall. You'll see women doing what men should be doing, sort of to take the lead. And you'll also see children on the rise as well. And that's what this reminds me of. It's like, your society is starting to fall when you're starting to give children the authority to basically rule you. And when men are not, filling their leadership roles in certain areas.
Yeah, because they've been told that their masculinity is toxic. Where I'm like, bring back the toxic masculinity, please. I want more of it.
101 from ancient times.
And then our last Daily Dose of Cringe features none other than former Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and former Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, rubbing shoulders in Toronto. I actually forgot about this. Kamala just launched a book. She wrote a book, I guess. Lots of word salad and chuckles, I'm sure. And so she just had a book signing event in Toronto. I thought that was, maybe it was yesterday. Anyway, so her and Chrystia Freeland got together and again, probably had a bunch of choice word salad, political theater stuff and some weird cackles. So they were in Toronto yesterday. And I mean, I just look at, someone posted in the comments, you took my advice and wore pants. Good for you. Chrystia Freeland.
Well, and now Camilla is trying to act like, oh, she didn't like Biden kind of thing too. I saw I could only stomach about half of the show of her being interviewed by one of my favorite podcasters, Diary of a CEO. But yeah, she's totally singing to a different tune now as well to stay relevant.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the comments. It's always fun to get in there and read what some people have to say. But there you have it, our Daily Dose of Cringe. Do we have a lot of cringe? Super chat
with Elizabeth May too. Like that was a little bit cringe overkill, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of cringe at the end there. Sorry about that. We also were going to play Elizabeth May's apology after that disastrous speech where she glorified Omar Khadr.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
Let's just maybe we'll end with that one, but I've had enough Elizabeth May for today. Anyway, Anyway, thanks, Drea. It's always a fun time hosting and co-hosting with you. Thanks to everybody who made sure that the stream ran as seamlessly and smoothly as possible. Just had a little bit of a rough start there at the beginning. And we will see you back same time and place tomorrow for what is it? The panel.
Yes.
Yeah, so from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Crazy to think that the week is almost already over. And before you know it, it will be Christmas. So welcome. And thanks everybody for joining and supporting our work and our efforts. Until next time, stay sane and question everything.